And Nancy the spider went up the water spout. Down came the rain and washed a Nancy out. Out came the sun and dried up all the rain. And a Nancy the spider went up the spout again. Hello everyone, my name is Miss Lisa from the Glen A. Jones Library in Johnstown. I'm glad you've joined us for craft tutorial today. Let's get started. Hello everybody. The craft that we're going to do today is a spider craft, and it is inspired by Anansi the spider, who's a character in folklore from Africa. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create some prints. We're going to do some printing, and I've created my own little printing blocks here. It's really easy to create these, and I'm going to be using them fairly frequently, so I like to have them around. It's very simple. You take some craft foam. You can also use styrofoam. I found this at a bakery from the local grocery store, but you can also find styrofoam sometimes with egg cartons. So you can use styrofoam, or you can use craft foam like this, and you're simply going to cut out a shape of your craft foam. This is the grown-up job. Here is a triangle cut out. You can also cut out circles, just whatever shape you want to, stars, rectangles. And here again, it doesn't have to be just for this craft. This is great just to have around for general crafting. And then you're simply going to take and you're going to hot glue these to lids from like juice containers. These are a little bit bigger than milk carton containers, but milk carton jugs would work too. So just glue it to lids from the juice. And then when I did this, I used watercolors, and I simply press it in the watercolor and press down my shapes. But if you don't have watercolors, or you don't want to buy watercolors, you can use markers. You take and you just color your marker. Really saturate that shape with your marker color and just lay it down. This is a great time to talk about patterns, you know, triangle, rectangle, rectangle, triangle, rectangle, rectangle, upside down triangle, right side up triangle. And patterns are really important in science and math. So if you can teach them young about patterns, they're going to be ahead in science and math. So here I have triangle, rectangle, rectangle. Triangle would come next in the pattern. And there you go, just like that. So you can continue with that. If you don't want to use the stamps, you can always just color it. Rectangle, rectangle, triangle. You know, you could probably use stencils for this too. Triangle, triangle, triangle. Have fun. Do whatever you want to with your patterns. I want you to create 2 sheets. I want you to create one from a blank sheet of paper, and then I want another one where you go down the rows. We're going to use these in weaving, like a kente cloth, which is another object from Africa, the kente cloth. So yeah, go down the rows and create your patterns. Triangles, triangles. When I did mine, and I used these stamps, and I used the watercolors, and I created 2 sheets of paper. And then you're going to set them aside and let them dry, and then move on to the next part of the project. All right. right, everybody, now that you've done your stamping and it has dried all nice, we're going to move on to weaving our spider. This is a printout. The link can be found on the website. So you're going to print this out. You can see it has orange lines here. We're actually going to be cutting on those orange lines. What I want you to do is I want you to take and flip the paper over and fold in half. And then find the orange lines and cut right up to where the orange line is. You don't want to cut all the way. You just want to cut up right up to where that orange line stops. Alrighty. Cut right up to where that orange line stops. We're going to be doing some weaving. A lot of the spider folklore and myth has to do with weaving because of their webs. So we're cutting so that we can do weaving. All right. And once you're done cutting, we unfold the paper, and you have a nice little frame here, solid edges to weave. I want you to take your paper where you did your designs and your stamps and rows, and I want you to go ahead and cut them. So here I've cut a few rows from my paper with the rows. This is what we're going to be weaving in on our spider thing. Right. Now for weaving, you're going to start either under or over. I'm going to start under, and then you go over the next one, and under the next one, and over the next one, and under the next one, over and under. All right. And I'm going to go orange, yellow, so now I need yellow. Since I went under here, this time I'm going to go over it. Over. So I went over here. This time I'm going to go under it. Under. Over. Under. Over. Under. Over. All right. I did orange, yellow, and I'm going to do orange again. Go, since I went over here, then I'm going to start under here, under, over, under, over, under, over, under. All right. And since I went under here, I'm going to start over this one, over, under, over, under, over, under, over. Okay, and that was yellow, so now I do another orange one. And with orange, this one's, the yellow one is over, so I'm going to do under, under, over, under, over, under, over, under. All right. I don't have room for any others, so don't expect to use all of your rows. The most you'll be able to do is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows. And this is what it looks like when a grown-up does it, who has experience with crafting. Yours are probably not going to be near this neat, and I don't want you to be picky. As long as they're going over and under, I don't care if they're diagonal, I don't care if they go over to and under. It's just to try to give them an introduction to weaving and what weaving is kind of like. So please don't be picky about that. They're not going to be able to do it to this level unless you have a really experienced crafter or an older kid who's really enjoying this. I'm just going to kind of space these out evenly so there'll be a little bit of space in between. Well, so there won't be any huge gaps is what I'm going to do. So there we have now weaved a nice Nancy the spider. Once you get to this part, I want you to get a piece of cereal box, cracker box, something to that effect. And we are going to glue this guy on. You can kind of see through the paper where the spider is. Kind of want you to stick to the middle. But catch every kind of square that you can here. Dot, dot, not a lot, dot, dot, not a lot. All right. And then we are simply going to glue it on to the cereal box or the whatever you have, the cracker box. All right. Once you have it glued onto the box, in this case I glued to the inside of the box, but if you glue to the outside of the box, then you have this on the back of your spider, which is kind of nice if you're going to be showing the spider off to the grandparents or something. It's just a detail, you know, to have a plain back as opposed to a cereal box back. And then you're going to take and you're going to cut out around the outside of the spider. On the parts that were weaved over top, you're kind of going to have to just guess where the line is, kind of match them up. So you're going to cut out your spider. Some of these edges are going to be a little bit rough because they didn't get glued down. That's okay. In fact, it's almost desirable. You want it glued down enough so that your spider doesn't fall apart. But we're actually going to take advantage of these parts to glue in the legs. All right, so you'll cut out your spider. And when it cuts out, when you cut it out, it's going to look a little something like this. You can see we have some rough edges here, which is okay. Some rough edges. I glued mine to the outside of the cereal box, so I have that plain back that I was talking about. So then, for gluing on the legs, you're going to take your other piece of paper, and just cut out strips. It doesn't matter how long they are, doesn't matter how thick they are, just cut out some strips. Spiders have 8 legs, so you'll want to have 8 pieces of paper. There's more than enough here to have 8 pieces of paper to create 8 legs. Okay, and if you glue them in between places here, they'll be kind of secure and they won't. I think I want a little shorter one for my top leg. There we go. So glue it down, glue the spider leg in there, glue down any edges here. Here again, lift up. You know, if you're not getting this lifting up thing, it is 100% okay to take and glue your spider legs to the back of your spider, just like this. It is totally okay to do this. To take and just glue it here on the back of your spider. Oh, but I did that one upside down. There we go. All right. So you'll add 8 legs to your spider. These words are a little long, but that's okay. And you'll glue down any layers here that might need any weaving, any places that aren't quite glued down solid. You might want to just lay them down and glue them down. Once you have your legs on the spider the way you like, and all of your little pieces of paper there, your weaving glued down tight, then we're going to add straws on the back of this. I like McDonald's straws because they're thick, but you can also get straws at the grocery store. It's just, if they're thick, it makes it easier to run the yarn through it, so which will be what we'll use to shimmy up. And you only need about a little more than an inch, maybe not quite an inch and a half for the straw. And we need 2 of them for the back of the spider. You're also going to want 2 to keep the yarn threaded in these straws, and I'll show you what I mean here in a minute. I find that it works best to use tape for this part. If you use glue, it's not really going to stay, so tape is a good thing to use on this part. Take your straw, tape it down. You run it running up and down the body of the spider, your head here, tail here, running up and down the body. Make sure you have these on nice and firmly. Add a few more pieces of tape, and then here you have, just like that. For the yarn, this is going to be what helps our spider climb up. Clean out my space here a little bit. All right, to hang the spider, you're going to want a piece of cardboard, and this needs to be pretty heavy duty cardboard, like an Amazon box or a cardboard box, probably not just a cereal box, but some seriously corrugated cardboard. Cut it into a triangle about 3 inches all the way around, and put a hole in each corner. The top, you're going to put a piece of yarn with a loop so you can hang your spider. And then from the others, you're going to want a piece of yarn, maybe 3 to 4 feet long, and tie 1 in each hole. 2 pieces of yarn, 3 to 4 feet long each, tied in each one of those holes. Okay, and then the bottom of the spider, of the yarn, you're going to take and you're going to thread through the straws. Now you know why thicker straws are better. So I did that with the one piece of yarn coming down off the triangle. I'm going to do this with the other piece of yarn coming down the triangle. Okay. On the bottoms, I alluded to this, we're going to take and we're going to thread this through here and take it around and tie it. Whoops. Tie it in a knot so you have this sticking to it, not going anywhere. On both sides, both pieces of yarn. Alrighty. And then what this does is it prevents the yarn from coming out of this threaded. It won't come out of the straw here. So when you hang, when it's hanging, if you let go, the spider won't fall off of the yarn. You won't be constantly rethreading it. And you're pretty much done. So there we have our Anansi the spider, and we have it. It's going to hang, and when it's hanging, you're just going to do these apart, and the spider's going to crawl up the water spout. Or I know there's one where Nancy goes visits the sun god. Then Nancy could go visit the sun god. There you are. There's our spider craft, inspired by Anansi the spider, a African folklore character. I hope you will find some other spider type stories that you're interested in and explore, and that you enjoyed this activity. Thank you.